I came to Thailand and I really enjoyed my time over here, but I came to a little bit of a crossroad where I wasn't quite sure where to go from here. And speaking to some of my friends and also friends I made in Thailand who, funnily enough, were yoga teachers, everyone sort of planted little seeds in my head about the training and how it might be a good idea at my current situation that I found myself in to do something for myself. And that seed then over time started growing. So I started speaking to people around that actually in about November, December. And at first I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I love yoga, but I don't know if I want to do it as a profession, because teacher training you automatically sort of associate with becoming a yoga teacher. But the input from friends I received that did the training who are teachers, but also friends who did it who aren't teachers, they all said it's one of the best things you can do for yourself as a person. And I just felt at that point I needed to do something for myself that I haven't tried yet, and maybe even push myself a little bit to something I wasn't entirely sure about. So I did some Googling about yoga teacher trainings in Koh Phangan, because I heard that's the place to do it. And I came across the Tipi. So I spoke to Sky, I spoke to George, the yoga teacher, who also were very encouraging in terms of me making my final decision. And then instead of overthinking it, I just signed up for it. And with hindsight, it's been the best decision I've made this year so far. I started this year, 2023, really, really great, and I wouldn't have chosen any other way. So I didn't really come to the yoga teacher training with any expectations. I was generally quite open-minded. It's not that I've done a training like this before, so I knew sort of what expected me from looking at the schedule, looking at the curriculum and things that we cover. But for me, I've been doing yoga for a good few years now, and I always loved the physical side of it, which obviously was very much included. We did lots of workshops and classes to focus on that physical side. But things that I didn't, or things that I wasn't particularly aware of at that time, were things like meditation and mantras, yantras and all that stuff. So that was entirely new to me. It was something that I've never really done before. And I really came to enjoy that aspect of yoga, also looking into the philosophy in more detail. It just made me realize that yoga as such isn't just cool poses, a physical practice that you do every morning or 3-4 times a week. It's a practice that you do a lifetime. It's a philosophy that you incorporate into your life, and learning and understanding about that philosophy for me personally was quite life-changing. I can feel how my mindset in certain situations over the last 4 weeks especially has shifted, how I approach situations, how I approach with myself, and it overall just made me feel a lot more at peace with the world and myself. And I think without having George guiding us through the philosophy and being or embracing, embodying that philosophy, but also being a human being, just put it all into perspective, and it's just been something so admiring for me, and it's really awoken something into me that I want to continue. So I don't just want to, going forward, share cool poses that I've learned over the last 4 weeks with my friends and family and whoever else I cross paths with, but I do really also want to include that meditations that we've learned, that I've actually really started to enjoy. I started to struggle with, but now I'm like, I actually really appreciate that quietness in the morning. It's just really refreshing. And also the philosophy, I want to incorporate that into my life. I want to live it the best way I can, and that's even more important for me, I think, now, sharing yoga that way, instead of just, as I said, doing asana flow or vinyasa or hatha, whatever it is, doing that. There's so much more to it, and that is what blew my mind and what I honestly didn't expect, because the yoga flows didn't change my life, but the philosophy and what stands behind it and that lifestyle that comes with it that is what blew my mind, and that is what I'm now looking extremely forward to share and, as I said, incorporate into my own life. I had a really great time at the Tipi. I started my yoga teacher training with accommodation at the Tipi as well, which for me personally was really convenient because it was the first time in Koh Phangan, so I didn't really know the area very well. During my training, I didn't have the most time to explore because of the schedule, but I did feel very settled and at home in my little bungalow just behind the gym. It gave me the opportunity to also have a sneak peek at other classes that the Tipi offers, like the acro yoga or the contact improv dancing. That's awoken some interest, and now that I'm finished with the course, I'm actually even exploring some of those options that the Tipi has to offer as well. All in all, I felt really looked after in this whole environment. My plan came with not just accommodation, but also food, which again has been something completely life-changing for me. It's changed my diet, it's changed my perspective to food, to healthy food. I've eaten so much less processed food, and I feel physically a lot better as well. So the course primarily mentally changed me to the better, whereas living actually at the Tipi and being surrounded by fern and sky, who feed me on a daily basis and encourage me to keep going with those habits, that's physically changed me to the better as well. And it's beautiful, it's quiet, the nature is lovely, and now that I've finished the training, I've actually had some time to explore Koh Phangan as well. I find the Tipi as such is perfectly located as well to go to all areas. It's obviously in Tritanu, it's quite close to Sen Beach, where you find very like-minded people as well. It's a bit further away from the party areas. So for me, the Tipi as a place was the perfect fit. I suppose challenges for me at the beginning were to again self-discipline myself in many different ways. I knew that it came with a tight schedule with things that needed to be done, and I've been on Thailand I think about 3-4 months beforehand, and you know how it is. You go on a long permanent holiday and you spend your time at the beach, you drink coffee, you read books, you don't really have a routine, and you get used to that quite easily. So doing something where I actually have a routine again, have to self-discipline myself to get up at a certain time, to show up at places, that was slightly challenging to get back into, but once I found that habit and enjoyed our mornings together, it was actually a lot easier as well. Also the food, I'm a really fussy eater. I didn't have a very good diet before, and my food was included, but it was primarily vegetarian, or not primarily, it was fully vegetarian. And that is something that I never tried before, so I was a bit like, oh, will I starve, will I survive? But again, that was just a challenge for myself. It was something that I've never tried before, and it worked out really well. It was just, again, self-disciplining myself, being open-minded to it, and just embracing whatever outcome comes from it. After the whole course, I feel generally self-discipline is something that's become a lot easier to me. It's something that I actually really enjoy now. I have been looking at other patterns in my life that I've noticed over the last 4 weeks, and I'm proactively trying to work on them instead of just making excuses of, you've already gave up drinking Coca-Cola, or you've already gave up eating meat on a daily basis. So those things, I've noticed that if you do self-discipline yourself and do something that is maybe slightly uncomfortable or hard at the beginning, but if you keep pushing yourself, if you keep believing in yourself, they do become easier with the time. So there's other things in my life that I have noticed over the last 4 weeks that I would like to change into the future. I know I can't change everything at once, but I'm proactively with help of the course, trying to catch my behavior patterns and see where I can continue to improve them. I've found a routine that I really like, which includes the morning routine that we did in the Tipi, starting with the meditation, the breath work, and then the asana. And that is something that has really given me stability, again, physically and mental stability, and it's something that I want to also continue including in my life. I've always been a morning person, but now I'm a morning person. I want to get up before the sunrise, and I want to continue meditating with the sunrise and just setting myself up. Not necessarily an hour like we did in the course, but for me it's just super important that I'll be able to continue keeping those things up, even if it's just half an hour for each of those, to practice on myself, to continue working on myself, and to continue finding what I've learned in that course. For me, what was just really incredible was the relationships I did develop with George, the trainer, and Q. We just developed in such a family. We spent so much time together. I'm a bit of an introverted person, so for me having a small group was really nice. No matter how much we'll be speaking after or how frequently we will, I'm convinced that we'll always be in each other's lives one way or the other, and I'm so looking forward to see them again when I come back to Koh Phangan and the Tipi and flow with both of them. So the connections that I've made throughout this course is probably the best thing that I'm also taking with it. From it as a little family, and I'll always cherish both what George did in the way Q as a second trainee, the way she encouraged me, the way we supported each other, and the way we just bonded throughout that course. It's just been incredible. If you're thinking about doing a yoga teacher training, if you're thinking about going to Koh Phangan, and if you are considering the Tipi, then that is 3 big yes from me. Yes, you should come to Thailand, you should come to Koh Phangan, regardless of what you end up doing. It's an awesome island, you should definitely come and see it. And even if you just come to the Tipi to try out the gym, try out the yoga, meet the people, that's great. But I tell you, once you come here and you meet the people and you see what they have to offer, you want to stick around and you want to do it. And yoga teacher training, yes, big yes. And if it's not, like I said, for the teachers, if you don't want to teach, if teaching is not your thing, but if you just feel like you need to do something for yourself, you maybe feel a little bit lost, or generally you've got interest about yoga but want to know more, it's an amazing thing. I came in with no expectations, super open-minded, and it's been the best experience that I've made for myself and probably even for others in my life. So big yes if you think about it, and if there's a place I can recommend, then it's the Tipi 100%.